Another draft, another wave of unbridled optimism for the Chicago Bears franchise.
I think the team that I think did what they needed to do the most was Chicago, because Caleb Williams is a big-time talent. I had the same grade on him as I did Jaden Daniels.
The selection of Caleb Williams first overall in 2024 may not have been the instantaneous turning point for the franchise that many anticipated, but an offseason full of change in the Windy City has them poised to make a huge leap in 2025. Ben Johnson was the ultimate golden ticket.
Teams have been trying to get Ben Johnson to be the head coach of their franchise for a couple of years now. And every time he's been like, no, I'm going to stay in Detroit. We've got work to finish. The Bears got it done. The Bears were able to get Ben Johnson in the building to be their new head coach.
The offensive line has been rebuilt, and an awesome wave of offensive talent has been added to help out the roster.
The Bears get another chess piece for an offense that's going to be very interesting, with Ben Johnson calling the plays and maybe dialing up some surprises for the Lions, the Vikings, the Packers, and any other team that might have the misfortune of dealing with Ben Johnson's offense.
Luther, stud. Yeah, I mean, you saw the highlights, right? I mean, he's a playmaker waiting to happen.
Surely, this is the year it clicks for Chicago. This is the year they become Super Bowl contenders. In order to grasp why this offseason needed to be so transformative, we have to look at what exactly went wrong in 2024. A 5-12 record is far from ideal, but even that doesn't accurately portray the extent of the dysfunction at an organizational level. The fresh blood they had coming in, especially under center, was not adequately nurtured, and as a result, fell terribly flat. Caleb Williams has had the generational tag stuck to him ever since his debut season of college ball, but the NFL is an entirely different beast. The optimism around his addition to the roster was swiftly undercut as he became the most sacked quarterback in the league. The Bears front office, led by GM Ryan Poles, was justifiably under fire for their questionable roster construction, which led to the chaotic rookie season for Williams. Poles was responsible for trading away stars like Khalil Mack and Roquan Smith, with very little to show for it in return. It took until the 2023 season for the Bears to come out on the winning side of a trade, fleecing the Panthers for DJ Moore and a haul of picks, some of which turned into Williams and standout right tackle Darnell Wright. However, the Bears' decision to invest high draft picks and cap space on premium players such as Odunze and Keenan Allen, instead of trying to improve a questionable offensive line ahead of the 2024 season, wound up costing them dearly. Bill Belichick dissected how this set them back on the Pat McAfee show.
Well, I think this is really an issue for Chicago, just in terms of the overall team construction, the way they decided to do it. You look at a team like Detroit in their division, and Detroit's got three, really good linemen with Sewell, Ragnow, and Decker, and those guys. But they've had problems on their offensive line, and it doesn't really look like that's gotten much better.
Add to that 3 consecutive seasons below 500, 2 of which with first-time head coach Matt Eberflus, and there was a recipe for disaster in the works at Soldier Field. The team fell apart after a surprise 4-2 start, as the recently arrived offensive coordinator Shane Waldron was sent packing after Week 9, and Eberflus followed just 3 weeks later in response to a catastrophic blunder against Detroit. Nothing could stop the slide at this point, as the Bears suffered 10 straight losses, ending the season on a high note by beating a Green Bay team that had already punched its ticket to the playoffs. Being the only team from your division not to make the postseason isn't just a bad look. It's a downright embarrassment for a team with this level of talent who somehow let the wheels fall off before the midpoint of the campaign. The 2 biggest needs heading into this offseason were coaching and offensive line help. Poles needed to make a statement that the Bears were to be taken seriously after his various shortcomings. On the other hand, Caleb Williams' most glaring weakness coming out of college, throwing under pressure, was exploited ad nauseum courtesy of an inconsistent offensive line. The rookie was sacked a league-high 68 times, the 3rd highest tally in NFL history. While plenty of those were certainly his fault, it nevertheless remains a strong indictment of the state of the trenches. When it came to filling their head coaching vacancy, the Bears went out and picked up the most coveted mind in all of football, Ben Johnson. The 2024 AP NFL Assistant Coach of the Year set the league alight as the offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions for the past 3 seasons, where he helped complete one of the most dramatic franchise turnarounds in NFL history. His innovative play designs helped transform Detroit into the highest scoring offense in the league while providing box office entertainment on a weekly basis. His creativity and a proven success in a tough NFC North will be the perfect marriage with Caleb Williams' unique skill set under center. Add to that fresh faces at offensive and defensive coordinator with Declan Doyle and Dennis Allen respectively, ushering in a new era of Bears football. Doyle spent the past 2 years in Denver under Sean Payton, and will be primarily tasked with helping game plan for opponents week to week. Ben Johnson will still be calling plays on Sundays. Don't worry, Bears fans. Dennis Allen, on the other hand, is coming off of a relatively unsuccessful head coaching spell with the Saints as Sean Payton's successor. However, as a defensive coordinator, Allen's track record is remarkable. 6 NFC South titles and a Super Bowl ring. The type of consistency the Bears franchise desperately needs. These coaching appointments aren't just important because of the fit with Chicago's offensive weapons, but also because it is a statement from the front office. The Bears have come to play in 2025. The appointment of Ben Johnson isn't just a symbol of hope for what was 2024's 5th worst scoring offense, it is a commitment to maximizing the talent they already have in the building in a legitimately exciting way. The 2025 draft was even further proof of that promise, with protecting and empowering Caleb Williams as the clear priority. Colston Loveland, their 10th overall pick, was considered one of the top tight end prospects available as an elite route runner and a safe pair of hands. Many have compared Loveland to Sam Laporta coming out of college, which is particularly exciting for Bears fans as Ben Johnson helped Laporta look like a certified stud as a rookie in Detroit. Loveland's quality as both a receiver and a blocker made him a focal point for Michigan, despite some injury issues in his final year. Regardless, he has a unique skill set that will not only make him an exciting weapon for Johnson to scheme up, but more importantly, an invaluable safety valve for a maturing Caleb Williams. Chicago spent their first second-round pick on Luther Burden III, a yards-after-catch monster at Mizzou, filling in for the departing Keenan Allen, another player who, if Johnson can help get the ball in his hands, will provide must-see entertainment for the Bears in the slot, a perfect complement to Odunze and DJ Moore out wide. But Poles and company weren't done there. After trading back with the Bills, Chicago landed themselves a new pair of second-rounders, with which they picked up offensive tackle Ozzie Trapillo and defensive tackle Shamar Turner. As we've touched on, Trapillo is going to give Williams some much-needed protection, allowing just 2 sacks in his last 2 seasons of college football. Turner, meanwhile, is explosive off the line, may not have adequately addressed the deficiency. The Bears have made some nifty free agent signings on both sides of the ball that should bode well for them in 2025. Center Drew Dahlman came in from Atlanta on a 3-year, $42 million deal. He's joined by All-Pro guard Joe Thuney from the Chiefs, who came in exchange for a 4th-round pick, adding some serious pedigree to the O-line. Thuney has 4 rings, bringing not just a veteran presence, but championship experience to a young and hungry Bears team. Chicago sent the Rams a 6th-rounder for Jonah Jackson, who played under Ben Johnson previously in Detroit. While he struggled with injuries in LA, the guard rounds out this medley of upgrades to the O-line nicely. The longer they keep Caleb Williams safe and upright in the pocket, the more we'll see Ben Johnson's offensive genius flourish, and maybe see some more of that Heisman-winning play we'd become accustomed to from the Bears' number 13. Once again, this proves a genuine, well-thought-out attempt to address one of the team's biggest weaknesses in 2024. While that may sound like the bare minimum for a front office to do, the Bears haven't always done the simple things right. Over on the defensive line, the front office made some significant upgrades as well. Brady Jarrett was picked up in free agency after 10 seasons with Atlanta, while $43.5 million over 3, one of the Bears' other blockbuster offseason moves. Dayo Odunze, the constantly improving 5th-year defensive end, was signed to a 3-year, $48 million contract this offseason. While he hasn't exactly blown anyone away in his time in Indianapolis, Odunze has proven himself a disruptive presence at the line of scrimmage. While the Bears' defensive front wasn't awful last season, the strength was clearly in the secondary. The pass rush was fairly underwhelming, while their run defense was among the worst in the entire league. One of the reasons for the line's limited impact was the simple fact that there weren't enough disruptors, making it much easier to hone in on and contain Montez Sweat, far and away the Bears' best player on that line. The signings of Odunze and Jarrett will free up Sweat to make big plays on a routine basis, as opponents can't afford to deploy multiple blockers on him for every play. For a franchise with a rich history of elite defensive play, Dennis Allen understands the pressure his unit is under to perform. His extensive experience should fast-track the adjustment period for these new additions, making Chicago a force to be reckoned with defensively. Ben Johnson has said that his approach to defense is doing whatever it takes to get the ball back in their quarterback's hands. With these free agency splurges in both trenches, Chicago will ideally see Caleb Williams in action a whole lot more in 2025. Now, we've spent a long time talking about the positives, but this rebuild is far from being complete. One of the glaring weaknesses on this team is in the running back stable. DeAndre Swift's output was solid, but relatively stifled by the offensive line play. Behind him, there aren't too many options. Solid rotational back. But the Bears could have picked a much more exciting, game-changing playmaker sooner. Perhaps their most puzzling move of the draft came in the 4th round, when they selected Maryland linebacker Ruben Hippolyte II. Hippolyte was the first player not invited to the Combine to be drafted, as he was widely regarded as a late-round pick. This was a significant reach for a player whose biggest draw is his remarkable 4.4 speed. Even if the coaching staff has a clear plan of how to use Hippolyte, the value they could have found elsewhere with this pick makes it questionable at best. While Colston Loveland is a great player, there's also a case to be made that with the serviceable Cole Kmet already in the building, they could have used that pick to address a more pressing need. That argument is highly subjective, but the point stands that there may be some reasonable apprehension from Bears fans around their team selections in the draft. The talent they have on this roster and the fluidity and efficiency of a Ben Johnson offense when it's in full swing, it's not a question of if the Bears will play good football in 2025, it's a question of when. Depending on how quickly this team can gel together, they stand a very legitimate chance of challenging for the NFC North title. The Vikings will have to field an untested J.J. McCarthy, leaving them an unknown, while the Lions coaching staff was effectively scalped as soon as legally possible. Green Bay can be inconsistent at times, leaving the door wide open for Chicago to make its way back into playoff contention. From there, it's anyone's game. As the Washington Commanders demonstrated in 2024, once momentum is on your side, it doesn't matter how you played in years past. With some veterans and coaches that have been around the league for a while, mixed with fresh blood via the draft, it's safe to say there's a whole lot to be excited about for Bears fans. But what do you think? Is Chicago actually capable of turning things around this year? What else is their roster missing? Let us know in the comments.